They weighted his ankles with a lump of lead, marched him past the jeering crowd on Rome's Ponte Sant'Angelo, and dropped him straight into the winter-swollen Tiber, all because he kept saying the ground under their feet was spinning in circles around a middling star. Nobody bothered to remove the gag. A man who had spent years talking about moving worlds was denied even the dignity of last words. The man was Giordano Bruno of Nola, former Dominican friar, wandering lecturer, chronic thorn in every comfortable backside of late 16th century Europe. If you picture a bookish monk lost in reverie, think again. Bruno talked fast, quoted faster, and treated intellectual combat like a tavern brawl. Chairs smashed, tankards flying, the loudest survivor claiming the floor. From Oxford halls to Paris salons, he baited theologians with a grin that said, "Go on, prove me wrong." But his favorite provocation, the one guaranteed to make bishops clutch pearls and mathematicians cough politely, was shouting that Copernicus hadn't gone far enough. Not only did Earth orbit the sun, he declared, but the sun was just another light in an endless scatter of suns, each with their own whirling planets. An infinite universe, infinite worlds, infinite headaches for inquisitors. Yet, because of course they did, princes, priests, and patrons kept inviting him in. They wanted novelty the way dinner guests want exotic wine. Pour just enough to brag, but not so much the tablecloth catches fire. Bruno, oblivious to subtle hints, upended the bottle every time. In London, he offended the Archbishop of Canterbury by comparing Christ's miracles to stage magic. In Prague, he lectured Rudolph II on demonic geometry. In Geneva, he angered the Calvinists by calling them worse papists than Rome. And still he kept moving, like the very earth he championed, chased by warrants, creditors, and the occasional husband. But wait, it gets weirder. In 1591, a rich Venetian named Giovanni Mocenigo hired Bruno as a private tutor in mnemonic tricks. Memory palaces, word wheels, the mental equivalent of a Renaissance hard drive. Mocenigo wanted the secret formula, preferably overnight. Bruno, never short on promises, produced diagrams that looked suspiciously like doodles copied from earlier occult manuals. When the nobleman complained, Bruno offered philosophy instead. Heliocentrism spiced with hermetic magic. Mocenigo heard heresy louder than helpful and locked his guest in an attic until the Inquisition could collect the package. Rome smelled blood. For 7 years they grilled him. Did he deny the Trinity? Yes. Claim souls migrate between worlds? Certainly. Insist Mary wasn't a perpetual virgin? Pass the salt. Worst of all, did he affirm that ridiculous Copernican ballgame? Absolutely. And then some. The transcripts read like a stand-up routine performed in a torture chamber. Interrogators demanded simple abjuration. Bruno countered with pages of cosmic metaphysics. At one point, he offered to recant if they let him explain heliocentrism properly, which is like promising to whisper during a trumpet solo. On the 20th of January 1600, they pronounced the inevitable verdict: a pertinacious, obstinate heretic. The standard penalty was burning at the stake in Campo dei Fiori, Rome's open-air market for vegetables and dissenters alike. Legend says the authorities pierced his tongue with an iron spike so he couldn't preach to the crowd. Anyone who had sat through his lectures knew that was prudent. Early on 17th February, the pyre was lit. Witnesses claimed he stared straight ahead, lips moving behind the gag, perhaps repeating his favorite line: "The universe is infinite because divine power is infinite." Or maybe dry as ash: "I told you it moved." Now here's the aquatic twist the textbooks skip. After the flames died, officials gathered the charred remains, loaded them onto a barge, and rowed out to mid-river. They wanted no relics, no martyrs' bones for future radicals to kiss. With a shove of oars and a satisfying splash, Bruno's ashes clouded the water and drifted downstream toward the sea. Burned first, drowned second. The church believed in belt and suspenders theology. You might think the story ends there. One man, one pyre. Case closed. Except ideas don't sink. Sailors on Dutch merchant ships swapped tall tales of an Italian who'd claimed stars were suns. English translators slipped Bruno's banned essays into scientific miscellanies. German students, grumbling under frost-cracked ceilings, memorized his infinity arguments to annoy Lutheran professors. Even Galileo, treading carefully after his own telescopic revelations, admitted that Bruno had walked too fast for prudence, but not for truth. Fast forward to 1848. Revolutionaries erected a crude wooden statue of the drowned heretic on that same bridge where he was tipped overboard, daring police to tear it down. They did, so the rebels returned with bronze. Today, Bruno's stern silhouette still dominates Campo dei Fiori, back turned to the Vatican, as if the monument itself were muttering. And yet it moves. Of course, nuanced historians will insist the execution was about theology more than astronomy. Fair enough. Bruno denied enough doctrines to fuel a bonfire without mentioning Copernicus. But the motion of Earth sat at the heart of every charge. If the planet spins, Scripture's literal anchors snap, and centuries of scholastic scaffolding rattle. Better to drown one noisy friar than let the cosmos wobble. The irony? Within a lifetime, telescopes proved him right. By 1687, Newton's Principia Mathematica sealed the deal with calculus and cannonball trajectories. Suddenly, the church, like everyone else, needed a new map of heaven. Yet, institutional pride has a longer half-life than uranium. Not until 1889 did Pope Leo XIII permit Bruno's name to appear in Catholic reference works without the tag infamous heretic. In 1942, middle of another European inferno, the Vatican quietly archived the trial documents. They remain under lock and key. Apparently, eternity still requires a gatekeeper. Meanwhile, the Tiber keeps flowing, indifferent to doctrinal edits, carrying tourists' coins and plastic bottles over the spot where a philosopher's ashes once swirled. Here's the kicker. Bruno never owned a reliable telescope, never drafted planetary tables, never solved Kepler's ellipses. His scientific method was equal parts speculation and visionary poetry. The man talked himself into oblivion. Yet his stubborn refusal to fold under pressure proved contagious. The moment you punish thought crimes with water and fire, you guarantee someone else will salvage the forbidden pages, dry them, and read them twice as fiercely. Truth, it seems, enjoys a good resurrection. So the next time a friend insists civilization progresses in straight lines, remind them of the friar who kept moving even after ropes, flames, and river currents tried to pin him down. He wagered his life on an idea, Earth in motion, and lost the bet spectacularly. Or did he? Look around. We schedule trains by a heliocentric clock, beam satellites through orbital mechanics, steer rovers across Mars as casually as medieval bishops cited Aristotle. Bruno's lead weight still sinks in the Tiber, but his orbit-crazy Earth keeps spinning, carrying us into yet another revolution around that middling star he dared call ordinary. Yes, you read that correctly. And if the universe is laughing, it's probably because it never stopped moving in the first place.